Yo, I like JJK. Like, I really like JJK. And I'm just realizing it because if you would have asked me like a year ago if I'm a big fan of JJK, I probably would have described myself as a pretty casual fan. You know, I didn't read week to week. I would wait a bit and read chapters in bunches. So I'm thinking there are other people that are way deeper into this series than me. I'm just a casual reader. JJK isn't even the main series I cover. I honestly barely talk about JJK because I feel like I don't really have that much to say about it until I start talking to other JJK fans. Like all that lobotomy Kaisen stuff, I thought that was just jokes. I actually think 50% of this fan base has gotten a lobotomy. I think a lot of it has to do with spoiler culture, which is a thing in all manga, but JJK fans are especially bad with it. Like I said, I used to read the chapters in bunches, but I can't even do that anymore. I literally have to read the chapter as soon as it drops or I'm spoiled. Actually, you're probably getting spoiled before the chapter even drops. And you know, in the One Piece community, spoilers are nothing new. We have the same issue, but it's not even close, bro. The amount of story beats in JJK that I have found out unconsensually from spoilers, I've probably experienced more shit in JJK from the spoilers than from actually reading it firsthand in the manga. I don't know if it's the spoiler culture or just the general conversation around the manga, but after being on Twitter for a while, I feel like I might be a bigger, genuine JJK fan and be more knowledgeable on JJK than 90% of Jujutsu Kaisen fans that say Jujutsu Kaisen is their favorite manga ever. And Jujutsu Kaisen isn't even in my top 5, I don't think. I talked about this a little bit in another video about older anime versus newer anime, but JJK has this similar problem that a lot of newer manga have of like this fucking ADD ass pacing that the manga has. And I think that reflects itself in the fan base. One, the fact that these niggas can't just wait a week for the chapter to come out, but I think a bigger issue is in the way that they interpret the story. Jujutsu Kaisen fans have this huge problem of only being able to interpret the story in what is going on in that exact moment. They're not gonna think anything about the future or anything about all the stuff that's happened beforehand. It's only about what's happening right now in this moment. And it's always the dumbest, most vapid criticisms that mean nothing. That if you thought about it for more than 20 seconds, you would understand that this is a nothing problem. And you see this a lot in the way that people talk about Yuji specifically. We all know the joke of like, Gojo's the real main character, Yuta's the real main character. And those jokes are funny. I laugh at them all the time. But you start to realize that for a decent portion of the fan base, these aren't jokes. They genuinely believe that Yuta and Gojo are more important and do more for the story than Yuji does. And I think it's because despite Gege writing the rest of the story with this fast break pace, he writes Yuji as such a slow burn character, and the type of people that read Jujutsu Kaisen just aren't slow burn type of people, which is I think why you see all these complaints about when is Yuji gonna do something. We see this character doing all this and this character doing all this. When is Yuji gonna do something? When is Yuji gonna use Sukuna's technique? How long were people complaining saying that Gege just forgot to give Yuji Sukuna's techniques when it's super obvious that he was waiting for a climactic moment to do that? And you see these sentiments a lot in these Gege forgot comments. I'm gonna talk about the Gege forgot shit in a minute, but I've said this before that I feel like the pace that Jujutsu Kaisen moves at has cultivated this kind of fan base. It's kind of caused its own problems. And I don't know how this happened, but Jujutsu Kaisen has built this similar fan base to One Piece where they have all these agendas and things that they want to see happen in the story for specific characters that they specifically like. I kind of feel like they copied the One Piece fandom a little bit, but whatever. I think my favorite is probably the Yuta Hakari shit, even though Yuta shits on Hakari, but hey man, who am I? But this is what I'm talking about when I say these niggas copy One Piece. The Yuta and Hakari shit is literally just Zoro versus Sanji, and the Gojo and Sukuna shit is literally just Mihawk versus Shanks. I mean, Gojo versus Sukuna is like Mihawk versus Shanks, but a million times more annoying. And it's probably only more annoying because we actually saw the fight happen in real time. The week to week of the Gojo versus Sukuna fight was so annoying because we have such this fun, cool fight. But every week is just Gojo and Sukuna fans trying to point out logical inconsistencies and plot holes of this is why my character should be winning, but Gege just doesn't know how to write. And it's especially annoying because the outcome of that fight was so obvious. Anybody with half a brain knew how that fight was gonna end. But Jujutsu Kaisen fans have this thing in the back of their brain where they just think they know better than the mangaka. And I have this common issue with manga fans, but especially JJK fans, where they disrespect their own mangaka so badly by insinuating that they don't understand super basic plot points. I said this before, but there's certain shit that people say about mangaka that you cannot believe unless you literally believe that mangaka are disabled toddlers who don't know anything about writing stories. It's like these people spend their whole life learning how to write stories, getting their shit canceled, putting out one-shots. The one-shots not getting no traction. Then they get some shit that finally blow up just for little Timmy on Twitter to tell them, actually, you should have written it like this. And I'm not saying mangaka can't be criticized because they do make mistakes. Obviously, they're human. But my problem is how quickly people come to to the conclusion of this mangaka has completely lost the plot and has no idea what he's doing. Especially with Gege, because he's proven time and time again that there will be times where you feel like he's forgotten something or he's neglecting something and he'll come back to it. Not to say that there isn't certain shit that Gege just skipped. I think JJK fans kind of got PTSD though, because Gege skips so much shit and speeds through so much shit that they're like, he's not gonna do it. He's not gonna do it. He's gonna skip this. But it's like, bro, this is shit that's integral to the story. He's obviously not gonna skip anything that's integral to the story. And like I said before, there's this thing called Gege Forgot, where they'll bring up moments in the manga that they feel like Gege just forgot about and moved on from. I've seen people do this for other manga like JoJo's and shit, but for Gege it seems particularly egregious, because people won't even give him 2 chapters. A character will say something and 2 chapters later the thing hasn't happened yet, Gege forgot. At least JoJo fans wait till the part is over. One of my favorite examples that I talked about before is the shit with Sukuna's powers. It's like, how dumb do you think Gege is to assume that he would forget this thing about Yuji getting Sukuna's powers as if it isn't one of the most important things to the end game of the series? The Gege forgot shit is one thing, but what makes me so much more annoyed that I never see any other series do to this extent, there's this thing where some JJK fans will find little details in the series and small things that are just fun to point out or that add a little bit of extra depth to the characters or the story, and then other JJK fans will come out and be like, Gege never meant to do that. That nigga not that smart. He not paying attention to details like that. Which is kind of fine. You know, sometimes manga fans be reaching, but a lot of the time it's the most basic shit that's like, obviously Gege was thinking about this. What is the other point of the scene? And I think there's this thing where people believe that mangaka are just writing the stories as they come along. Some of it they come up with in the moment, sure, but a lot of this shit is shit that they've been thinking about and rewriting and rethinking about for years. And a big reason for that is the fans have their own expectations for how the story should go and things that need to happen that the author doesn't necessarily share, which would actually be okay if these expectations were actually based on anything, but usually they're based on nothing. Because there's this thing that happens in Jujutsu Kaisen, and specifically in Jujutsu Kaisen, where the fans consume a shit ton of fan content and take that fan content as canon, more often than not in the characters' relationships. Like, if you hear people talk about Gojo, you'll think he was Yuta's dad, you'll think he was Yuji's dad, you'll think he was Megumi's dad. This nigga was barely around. And this is partially Gege's fault, because he doesn't give a fuck about writing out character relationships, but also it's like, actually read the manga you're talking about. Stop looking at fan art and shit. People create this entire fantasy of what the series is. Like, you'll see this sentiment of like, I miss pre-Shibuya when it was just regular shonen and things were kind of happy. That shit was never happy. Season 1, Junpei got turned into a frog, but you thought shit was sweet, huh? Jujutsu Kaisen was always fucking depressing. And post Gojo versus Sukuna, the community has gotten so much more annoying, bro. And it was bound to happen because Gojo is the most popular character in JJK, so I expected some level of fallout, but Jesus. I think there's a solid amount of the JJK fanbase that doesn't even enjoy JJK anymore. The second Gojo was gone, all their love for the series was gone, but they just stick around just because. It just feels like a lot of times JJK fans are completely reading the wrong series. You want slice of life shit so bad, just go read a slice of life series. And don't even get me started on the ships. We got the Gojo and Geto one, even though that one's not that bad to me. And then we've got Yuta and Maki, which is pretty straightforward, but the rest of them, it's always characters that have had like 3 interactions together that will obviously never end up together. But again, JJK fans have used fan art to create this fantasy world where all the characters are these sweet innocent babies. Boy, these niggas are murderers. But none of this bothers me as much as JJK fans just not understanding the core themes of their series. It confuses me because it's like, how do you spend all this time reading this one thing? Like, this is your thing. You talk about it all day and you don't even understand it. My favorite example to talk about is the way people talk about morality in JJK, because when people talk about Jujutsu Kaisen, they like to create this moral structure that the story does not operate off. They get this feeling that our characters are the good guys and the villains are the bad guys, but that's not how the Jujutsu world operates at all. I love this when we're talking about Gojo and Yuta specifically, because they are often the characters that you see get described as heroes and get mischaracterized by the fandom a lot. It's been shown time and time again in the world of sorcerers, being moral does nothing for you. You're gonna die. Anytime we ever see a character more concerned with their morals than winning a fight, that nigga's gonna die. Anytime we see a character talking about his dreams and the future and what he wants to do and change the world, that nigga's gonna die, because that's not what this story is about. The character that gets misinterpreted the most because of this is Megumi by far. Because people have this black and white morality about sorcerers, they have this idea that sorcerers should keep doing good for the sake of good. But we have been shown throughout the series that sorcerers are selfish, and their goals are always selfish as shit. And once they lose that goal, they have no motivation. And Megumi's ultimate end goal was to save his sister. So now that his sister's gone, what the fuck do you think he's gonna do? You think he's gonna keep fighting for the sake sake of sorcery. No, fuck y'all, I'm done. You see it a lot in the way that JJK treats its villains, especially Kenjaku. Because when you look at somebody like Kenjaku, he is the most despicable person in Jujutsu Kaisen, and you would think that the author would give a character like this no mercy in their final moments. But Gege goes out of his way to give Kenjaku and Takaba a satisfying and somewhat happy ending. And that's why you see people confused, because like, this nigga's evil. Why should we give such satisfaction to an evil character? But I don't think that the story of Jujutsu Kaisen operates that way. When people read series, they want to find those good and evil lines, and they want to make them very clear. So it makes them uncomfortable when a series doesn't do that. Or look at Toji. Toji is another great example. By every metric, Toji is a bad person. But at the end of the day, the story still treats him pretty well. And again, it's extra frustrating because this comes from people who say Jujutsu Kaisen is their favorite manga or their favorite anime. And I would expect people that love this series so much to understand it better, but I guess that's asking too much. But yeah, man, that's all I got for y'all boys today. I don't care. Start complaining about Jujutsu Kaisen fans in the comments below. I'm gonna be agreeing with everything y'all said. Like the video if you like the video. Like the video, nigga. Subscribe to the channel. And yeah, man, I'm gone. Damn.